Hello, good morning students. Today we are going to discuss the next topic in Unit 2, classification of entity sets and attribute classifications. There are so many types of entities and there are so many types of attributes. Let's discuss. Let's start. Classification of entity sets. What is an entity? Already we know that what is an entity. Already we discussed in ER model. Entity represents a real world object that may be a person, a place, a thing, an event like that. In ER entity relationship model, entity represents a table and what it contains, a table contains a rows. Those rows are referred in an entity or entity instances. Okay, that means in an entity those rows are called as an entity instances or entity occurrences. Okay, actually there are two types of notations in ER model: Chen notation and Crowfoot notation. This is an graphical representation of data model. That's why we used some of symbols to represent everything in ER model. To represent an entity, we used a rectangle symbol, and we have written that entity name in capital letters inside that rectangle. Based on unique identification and some of the functionality, entity sets can be broadly classified into three types. One is strong entity, and next one is weak entity, and next one is associative entity. Let's see this diagram. Entity sets, there are three entities. To represent in each entity, we used a special symbols. To represent a strong entity, we used a rectangle symbol. To represent a weak entity, we used a double rectangle symbol. And to represent associative entity, we used rhombus inside the rectangle symbol. Okay, there are three types of entity sets: strong entity, weak entity, and associative entity. Coming to the strong entity, what is a strong entity? Okay, actually a strong entity is one whose existence does not depends on another entity. Okay, it's an independent or individual entity known as a strong entity. Okay, and that means strong entity always has a primary key, uh, which is used to identify all other entity instances, all entity instances in the strong entity. Okay, let's know about what is a primary key. Every table, every entity has some attributes. Okay, uh, in that attributes, one or a combination of attributes are used to identify each and every row uniquely. Okay, that attribute is known as primary key. Okay, for example, if you take an student entity, okay, student roll number, what we have in that student entity: student number, student name, and student marks, student address, like that. Okay, in that attributes, by using the student roll number values, we use it to identify each and every student uniquely. Okay, so what is the rule is every table or every entity has a primary key, should have a primary key to identify each and every entity instances uniquely. Okay, so normally by using a student roll number, we use it to identify each and every student uniquely. Okay, do you understand what I am saying? Okay, for example, when you called out by using a student name, several people, several students are maybe identified. Okay, but when you are using the student roll number, only one person will be identified here, identified. Okay, so A strong entity is an entity that contains a sufficient attributes to uniquely identify all its entity instances. Okay, nothing but simply the strong entity is an entity set having a primary key attribute, or it is also known as a table which consists of a primary key column. Okay, and the primary key of the strong entity is represented by underlining it. Okay, and a strong entity is represented by a rectangle symbol. The relationship between two strong entities is represented by a single diamond. Okay, let's consider an example. Here we are taking example of the student and the course. Okay, here the student takes course. In this example, the student and course both are strong entities. Why? Because its existence does not depends on another entity existence. Okay. Simply, the student entity has a primary key and the course entity has a primary key, okay, which is used to identify all its entity instances in the student table and the course table. Okay, just let's see. In student table, we have a student ID. By using the student ID, we use it to identify all the students. Okay, and in course entity, it contains a primary key CID. Okay, that means course identification number, which is used to identify each and every course uniquely. Okay, simply the strong entity is a one entity whose existence does not depends on existence of another entity. Okay, this is called as strong entity. Coming to the weak entity. Okay, so weak entity is one whose existence depends on another entity existence. Okay, that means weak entity is an entity set that does not have sufficient attributes for unique identification of its records. Okay, so simply the weak entity is nothing but the entity does not have a primary key attribute. It contains a partial key which helps in identifying a group of entities from entity set. Okay, so what we have told, every table should have a primary key to identify each and every row uniquely. But in weak entity, it does not have sufficient attributes for unique identification of its records. So for unique identification, it depends upon the strong entity's primary key. Okay, that means simply its existence depends on strong entity. Okay, so without strong entity, weak entity cannot be existed. Okay, and the primary key of the weak entity is a composite key formed from the primary key of the strong entity and partial key of the weak entity. Okay, what it means? What is composite key? Composite key is nothing but a key is composed of more than two attributes known as composite key. Okay, it's also primary key which composed of more than one attribute. So, in order to identify each and every record uniquely, it has a strong identifying relationship with the strong entity to which it is related. Okay, don't confuse students. Just see this. You can understand very clearly when you go through this example. Okay. So the relationship between the weak entity and strong entity always denoted with the identifying relationship. Okay. Just to see this diagram, strong entity is represented in the single rectangle and weak entity is represented in double walled rectangle, and uh, the strong entity and weak entity should have an identifying relationship. Okay, that identifying relationship represented by double diamond symbol. Okay, and coming to double lines is used for representing the connection with weak entity set with the relationship. Okay, this is how we are representing the strong entity and weak entity in the ER diagram. Okay, consider the example of employee and its dependents or nominees. Okay, can you imagine without an employee nominees are existing? No, not at all. If an employee is existing there, then nominees may be existing. Without an employees, nominees cannot, nominees existence, no more existence of nominees without an employee existence. Okay, and that means for every dependent entity occurrence or record, there should be at least one employee entity occurrence in entity occurrence. Okay, that's why the dependent entity is called as an weak entity, and employee entity is called as an strong entity. Let's go through this example. Okay, there are two entities, employee and dependent. Employee is a strong entity which has a primary key to identify each and every record uniquely, and also its existence does not depends on another entity existence. It's an independent entity. Okay, and coming to the dependent entity is a weak entity which represents in double walled rectangle. Okay, and both entities are to be connected with the identifying relationship represents by double walled double diamond symbol. Okay, and double lines is used for representing the connection with weak entity set with the relationship. Just you observe those attributes in the employee table and dependent entity and employee entity. In employee entity, employee number, employee last name, first name, initial, date of birth and hire date. All these attributes, employee number attribute is a key attribute. This is also called as primary key, which is used to identify each and every employee uniquely. Okay, coming to the dependent entity. Okay, what it contains. Okay, what it contains, it contains the combination of employee number and dependent number as a key attribute. Okay, actually the dependent number is a partial key which is used to identify a group of instances in the dependent. For unique identification, we used the strong entity's primary key, employee number, as a part of the primary key in the dependent. So here dependent entity. So here the employee number and dependent number both are called as composite key, which is used to identify each and every record or every dependent uniquely in the dependent entity. Okay, just see the Crowfoot notation also. In Crowfoot notation, in employee and dependent. Okay, one employee has several dependents, and each dependent has one. Each entity, each dependent entity occurrence depends on employee entity occurrence. Okay, just see this diagram. Employee, there are several employees, 8 employees are existing, and in dependent table, employee number, dependent name and dependent date of birth. Okay, so just without an employee number, can you identify each and every record uniquely by using the dependent number? No, not at all. It's a partial key. So for that, it depends upon the strong entity primary key. Okay, so which is the in weak entity, the primary key is composed of The strong entity is primary key and weak entity is partial key, which is the combination of employee number plus department number, dependent number. Okay, just see this combination: 1001 1001 2 1003 11006 1. Its combination cannot be repeated. Okay, and one more important property is the primary key column contains only unique values and which does not allow null values also. Okay, coming to the associative entity. Associative entity is a term used in relational and entity relationship theory. Okay, what is an associative entity? To implement many-to-many relationship practically, it can be divided into two one-to-many relationships with the help of the intermediate entity. That intermediate entity is known as a bridge entity or associative entity. Okay, practically to implement many-to-many relationships directly, it's not possible. So to implement many-to-many relationships, we used to implement many-to-many relationships, we can use an intermediate an entity. That entity is known as an associative entity. Okay, the associative entities, the what is the rule to form the associative entity? The primary key of the associative entity is the combination of primary keys of entities to which it is related, and those acts as foreign key to the related table. Already we discussed this concept in previous topics. What is primary key and foreign key? Actually, the primary key and foreign key concept is used to establish a relationship between two tables. Okay, in order to maintain a relationship between two tables, common column will be maintained. That common column in one table it can be referred as primary key, in one table it can be referred as foreign key. Okay, usually in one side table primary key becomes foreign key in the many side table. Of course, don't worry students, in next unit relational model we can understand these topics very clearly with the examples, what is primary key and what is foreign key. Okay, don't worry about that. Okay, what is foreign key? Actually, foreign key is a attribute which contains only the values which are existing in its related primary key values. Okay. So, to understand an associative entity, we have taken the example of the student and class. Okay. Actually, the student and class has a many-to-many relationship. Why? Because one student can enroll in many classes and each class can contain several students. Okay. So, there existing many-to-many relationship between a student and a class. Okay, so to implement this relation practically, we used in a bridge entity called enroll. Okay, this enroll entity is known as associative entity. Just see this diagram. Okay, in both notations, Chen notation and Crowfoot notation. And associative entity can be associative entity is represented by using the symbol. Now, what it is? Diamond symbol inside the rectangle. Okay, it's a associative entity representation. The student can enroll in many classes, and each okay, just go through this example. Actually, the student and class has a many-to-many relationship. To implement practically, we used many-to-many relationship is dividing into two one-to-many relationships with the help of the bridge entity. Here the associative entity here is enroll entity. Okay, so just see this diagram. The student and enroll has a relationship of one-to-many, and the class the relationship between the class and enroll is also one to many. Okay, that means the many to many relationship is dividing into two one to many relationships with the help of the enroll entity. Okay, so Crowfoot notation, see this Crowfoot notation. In student number we have two attributes, student number and student class name. Okay, in of course so many attributes existing in the student table. Here the student number is a primary key which is used to identify each and every student. And coming to the class, in class table, class code is a key attribute and also known as primary key, which is used to identify each and every class. In that, several attributes: class section, course code, class time, room code, and professor number. Okay, so enroll entity. So enroll entity means it contains the combination of primary keys of two tables which it is related. Okay, so just see this diagram. In enroll entity, it has a composite primary key. That means it contains the combination of class code and student number as a composite primary key. Okay, along with it has an enrollment grade also. Class code and student number, those are the primary keys in the associative table as well as the foreign keys. Okay, foreign keys means it's a reference key which refers only primary key column values to ensure in integrity of data in the database. Okay, just go through this example of tables. Wrong implementation of many to many relationship between student and class. Okay, uh, just go through this example to understand how why the practically the many to many relationships are not existing. Just many to many relationship, already we know that to using the concept of primary key and foreign key, we used to relate both tables. Okay, here the student table and class table. In student table, the primary key is student number and foreign key is class code. Foreign key is nothing but it relates its primary key values only. Just it refers its primary key values only. Okay, that means in that column it only allows to have a primary key column values also. Okay, it doesn't allow other values, which ensures data consistency and integrity of databases. Okay, just observe class code. If that class code 10014, 10018, 10021, 141821, all those values are existing in its corresponding primary key in the class table, class code. Just see this class code. What we have: 10014, 10018, 10021. Only those values are to be existing in its primary key column also. Okay, and coming to the class table, which consists of primary key class code and foreign key student number. Just you observe the student number column, what we have: 321452, 324257, and 321452. All these values are only in the student number primary key in the student table. Just see those values also. 321452, 324257, and 324452 and 357. Okay, those values are existing in the foreign key also. Okay, just see this diagram. Actually, what is the rule? Every table should have a key attribute which identify each and every record uniquely. But in this example, in these tables, there are no primary key. Why? Because in student number 1 student can enroll for so many classes. That's why 321452. Okay, Bowser enrolled for 3 classes, 10014, 10018 and 10021. Okay, and Smithson also registered for 3 classes, 10014, 10018 and 10021. Actually, the student number will be act as a primary key, but it contains the repeated values, okay, which is not suitable to identify each and every record uniquely. Totally, this table cannot have a unique identification. I am coming to the class table, 10014 primary key. Okay, but in this also those values are to be repeated for number of times. Okay, and which does not have unique identification of each and every class. 10014, 321452, course code Act 211 and class section 3, timings through 332, 345, classroom 252, professor number 342. Okay, those values are to be repeated for every class. Why? Because for each class several students are to be enrolled. Okay, so in this table also there is no unique identification of each and every record. Okay, so this is the wrong implementation of many to many relationship between a student and class. Okay, practically it's not possible to implement many to many relationships directly. So to implement many to many relationship, we have a bridge entity. Okay, just see this diagram. It's a correct implementation of many to many relationship between student and class. Okay, in student table just we have only the student details only, student number and student last name. 321452, 324, 257, which has an unique identification, and coming to the class name which contains only the class details. Okay, class code 10014, 10018, 10021. Okay, in this student table, the student number, by using the student number we use to identify each and every student. In class table, by using the class code primary key, we use to identify each and every class uniquely. Okay, in order to maintain the many to many relationship between those two, we used to we used here one associative entity called enroll. Okay, so in that enroll, what is the rule? The primary key is formed with the combination of primary keys of the tables to which it is related. Okay, so that's why the primary key is composed of the combination of the student tables primary key, student number, plus class codes primary key, class code, and also those acts as foreign keys also. So why? Because just see these entries, 10014 and 3214452, those values are to be only the values in the student number and class code. Okay, actually the class code can be repeated and student number can also be repeated, but combination cannot be repeated here. No. Okay, 10014, for 10014 class, the student 321452 student can be enrolled. Okay, so the enrollment grade is C. And 10014 class, another student enrolled, 321, 324, 257 student. Okay, so the combination cannot be repeated. So with the help of class code and student number composite key, just we use it to identify each and every entity instance uniquely. Okay, so this is the correct implementation of many to many relationship between a student and a class. And next topic is attribute classification. Okay, so what are the attributes? Attributes are nothing but the characteristics of an entities. Okay, and in Chen notation, attributes are represented by using a vowel symbol. which are connected to the entity rectangle with the line. Okay, each oval contains the name of the attribute. And before going to know the attribute classification, first of all we know about domain of attribute. Every attribute have a domain. What is domain? Domain is nothing but a set of possible values for a given attribute. That means a range. What is the minimum value and what is the maximum value it contains. Okay, for example, when you have a GPA column, it consists of values from 0 to 10. When you have a max column, it has a values from range 0 to 100. Okay, when you have percentage column, you have a 0 to 100. Okay, like that. Every attribute have a domain. Okay, the attributes can be broadly classified into values and structures. Just see this diagram. Attribute classification. Attributes are classified based on the value and also structure. Again, based on the values, the attributes are classified into several types: single value attribute, multi-valued attribute, derived attribute, and null attribute. And coming to the structured based classification, based on the structure, the attributes are furtherly classified into two types: simple attribute and composite attribute. Coming to the single valued attribute. Okay, what is single valued attribute? First, value based classification. In that, the first type of attribute is single value attribute. The single value attribute is nothing but an attribute that have only a single value. Okay, represented by ellipse symbol. Okay, this is also known as oval. Okay, for example, a person can only have one Aadhaar number. A student can have only one roll number, one name, okay, and one vehicle have one registration number, and student admission number, house number, employee number. Okay, just you observe. Okay, that means the attribute which contains only a single value. Those will be known as single value attribute represented by ellipse symbol. Coming to the multi-valued attributes. Multi-valued attributes are nothing but the attributes that can have more values that can be represented by double ellipse. Okay, for example, a person can have several college degrees and a person can have many skills. Okay, if you have a skills attribute in your table, you have to write many skills. A person may have many skills. Okay, and also phone number column. A person may have several cell phone numbers and also bank account number. A person have multiple bank accounts and car color. Okay, car color may be subdivided into many colors like top color, interior color, background color, like that. Okay. So, an attribute which consists of several values, that type of attribute are known as multi-valued attributes. Okay. Coming to the null attribute. For a null attribute is nothing but, and if an attribute value is not applicable, just we leave it as an empty. That value is known as, that attribute is known as null attribute. Okay, for example. Okay, for example, scholarship attribute is existing in your table. Of course, for government employees' children, scholarship will not be applicable. So that's why in that column, just you leave it as empty for that particular students. Okay, that type of attribute are known as null attribute. And some persons may not have cell phones, bank accounts, and qualifications, and also middle names also. Okay, every person have a first name, last name, and middle name. Some of the persons should not have a middle name, like that. Okay, and coming to the derived attribute, next attribute. A derived attribute is an attribute whose values are calculated from other attribute values. Okay, for example, just see this diagram. It's a person entity. It contains a person name, age, and DOB. Okay, age can be calculated, age and derived attribute represented by using dashed ellipse. Okay, that can be calculated by using the existing attribute value DOB, date of birth. Okay, that type of attribute are known as derived attributes. A derived attribute is an attribute whose values are derived or calculated from other attribute values. Okay, and coming to the based on structure. Based on structure, the attributes are classified into two types, simple attribute and composite attribute. A simple attribute is an attribute that cannot be further subdivided into another attributes. For example, when you have an age attribute, age, okay, age. From that attribute, can you furtherly subdivide it into an attributes? No, not at all. And coming to the gender, no. And marital status, mobile number, okay, those attributes which cannot be furtherly subdivided into other attributes are known as simple attributes. Coming to the composite attributes, composite attribute is an attribute that can be furtherly subdivided to yield additional attributes. For example, name and address. Name can be subdivided into first name, last name and middle name. Those are also attributes. Coming to the date of birth. Okay, date of birth means that can be furtherly subdivided into month, year and date. Address. Okay, address can be divided into street name, door number, street name, state, okay, city, like that. Okay, that means one attribute can be furtherly subdivided into many attributes. That type of attributes are known as those type of attributes are known as composite attributes. Okay, here the address, composite attribute. Actually, the address is an attribute that can be furtherly subdividing into street, city, state, pin code attributes. So address attribute is known as composite attribute. Okay, just see this diagram to understand all types of attributes. Actually, simple attributes are to be represented by using double single vowel symbol. Student number, date of birth, student name. Of course, student name is also composite attribute which cannot be furtherly subdivided into first name, last name, middle name also. Okay, here the student entity. In that student entity, age can be represented by using the dashed ellipse. Why? Because it's a derived attribute. And here the skills and cell phone numbers. Skill is a multi-valued attribute. Why? Because it contains several values. And also cell phone number, cell numbers. A person may have many cell phone numbers. Okay, that's why it is also called as multi-valued attribute. Okay, and coming to address. Address is a composite attribute which can be furtherly subdivided into street, city, state and pin code attributes. Okay. And frequently asked questions from this topic is what is ER model, and explain the classification of entity sets and attribute classification. Okay, this is for 10 marks question. Sometimes asked like the classification of entity sets for 5 marks and attribute classification for 5 marks also. Okay. Any questions? If you have any doubts, just contact me and clear your doubts. Just follow the videos thoroughly and write the running notes, students. Don't forget. Thank you.